So the day is finally here. We're here to talk about Heretic, A24's newest horror movie. This was starting out on really good footing for me before it even came out. When I heard about it, I was really excited about it because this seemed like the kind of movie that I would really get into. So usually I don't go to see movies if I know I'm probably not going to like it. I just don't have enough time or energy or bandwidth to put into bad movies. So usually I'll go see a movie if there's a good chance that I'll like it. This one, I was like, there's a good chance I'm going to like this movie. It takes place in kind of a secluded environment. The vibes are immaculate. It's a very small cast. It seemed like a smart film, and it deals with theology. And I'm someone who has studied Christian theology and apologetics and stuff like that in my former life. So this was very interesting subject matter for me, and this was a very interesting concept right off the bat. I was very excited. I did have one slight apprehension or slight concern for it when I saw the initial trailers, and it had to do with, I'll put a screen grab of it, this scene right here.
Are you interested in learning more about the Church of Jesus Christ?
Come on in.
For some reason, this just gave me the vibe of, okay, this could go in the direction of like kind of salacious, sexy kind of, I don't know. I wasn't sure where it was going to go, but this screen grab concerned me a little bit from the trailer. But despite how the movie opens, these concerns were done away with and quelled. It was a very good movie. I enjoyed it very much. So I'm just going to go, this is going to be spoilers, so, if you haven't seen the film yet, don't continue in this video. But I'm going to kind of go through the movie and talk about some things I really liked, and talk about a few things that maybe confused me a little bit, or some choices that I wasn't quite sure about. But so basically, like I referenced just a second ago, the beginning of the movie is one of the things that threw me off just a slight little bit. They're having a conversation about Magnum condoms, which is funny, and it's even funnier because as the camera pans out, you see they're sitting on a bus stop bench that's advertising condoms. So you can imagine how this conversation started. But I just feel like it's a conversation that is out of character for two Mormon missionaries or two LDS missionaries. And so if you're trying to sell me on who these people are, it didn't immediately make me believe that these were actually two LDS missionaries. Now, I understand that this could have been a choice to help you understand that the one is maybe not the greatest LDS missionary. Like, she's really trying, but she's just not quite what a typical LDS missionary would be. I understand that. It just seemed like an odd choice to introduce the characters, but it's fine. I didn't hate it. It was just strange to me. So then the movie progresses, and it gets into just the Immaculate vibes. Starts to storm. They show up at this man's door. This man, Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant. He seems very nice at first. They're here to talk to him about the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. And again, this was kind of relatable because I've definitely had conversations with Mormon or LDS missionaries before. I actually have gone to their church and sat down with a couple Mormon elders and had discussions like was about to ensue in this movie, so I was ready for it, okay? I was ready for it. As soon as the girls walk into the house, you can tell there's something a little bit off, and that sense just grows and grows and grows until it's kind of undeniable that there's something amiss here. And I heard somebody liken this movie to Speak No Evil, in that it's like the horror of trying to be polite and not wanting to excuse yourself from a situation because you're trying to be polite. I didn't really get that vibe from this. That maybe in the very beginning that was the case, but more so, I think these girls were smart enough to understand, yeah, something's not right here, and we need to kind of distance ourselves from the situation. And so pretty early on, they're trying to get away. They're trying to leave the house. And that's when they find out that something is really, really wrong, because they can't leave the house, and they start to freak out a little bit. So the beginning of the movie, as they're talking to Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant, the thing that I really appreciated was that the dialogue is very smart. From what I remember of my apologetics classes and my Christian theology classes and stuff like this, and even discussions that we would have had in those classes about the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, a lot of the stuff they were talking about, I think, was pretty accurate from what I remember. And he was bringing up some pretty typical but good arguments against religion or against Christianity, against Mormonism. I was a little worried that the film was going to be a little one-sided in that regard. Now, he is the villain, So there is that to balance out the film. Your heroes are technically the Mormons. Your villain is technically Mr. Reed, who is the kind of antagonist to religion, you could say. And so one of the concerns I had was that it was going to be kind of lopsided in the arguments that they made against religion versus for. There was a really good scene where the character Sister Barnes, played by Sophie Thatcher, kind of rebuts some of his arguments. And she gave some really good rebuttals, which I was very impressed with. I was very happy to see that, because it showed that the writing was, again, smart, and it was not just kind of taking cheap shots, but she laid out some good rebuttals that he actually never answers. So I thought that was good writing. I think there's a good interplay of ideas here, and the writers aren't necessarily just completely smushing or smearing religious belief. They're making you realize that there are some good arguments either way. I appreciated that, because the film very easily could have been kind of one-sided in that regard, in its kind of philosophical and ideological bent. Another thing I appreciated about this film is that as the film goes on, it kind of subverts some typical horror tropes. So in the movie, you have Sophie Thatcher's character, Sister Barnes, and you have Chloe East's character, Sister Paxton. And Sister Barnes is definitely kind of portrayed as a sharper, kind of more astute person, although she may have her religious doubts. Sister Paxton is kind of a little bit more aloof, a little bit more naive. And I was concerned that they would kind of progress with the trope that maybe the naive one would get killed off and the smart one would kind of she would be victorious in the end, but it would kind of be at the expense of her faith, and it would kind of end in this more stereotypical horror way. They actually subverted that. And again, this is spoilers, so don't go any further if you haven't seen the movie. But the movie actually kills off Sister Barnes, who's the more astute, more kind of sharp one in the beginning. And they kill her off in actually kind of a unexpected, surprising moment. I certainly wasn't expecting it. I was like, there's no way they just killed her off. But they did. And they let the more kind of naive one survive. In my opinion, that's kind of a subversion of what you would typically expect in a horror movie. The other thing I was concerned about was there comes a point in the movie after, well, it's kind of in the same time frame of the movie where Sophie Thatcher's character dies. But the other thing I was a little concerned about was I was worried that they were going to go into a place where Hugh Grant's character was like some kind of Satanist or cultist, and he had some kind of like real, dark supernatural power on his side, because the whole beginning of the movie sets you up for he's studied all the religions and he thinks they're all bogus. And then there's a point in the movie where he brings something out where he's like, I'm going to show you a miracle, okay? I'm going to show you a resurrection. And he says, I have found true religion. I'll show you what true religion is. And so he does this ritual and supposedly resurrects this woman, okay, in front of these girls. And at that point in the movie, I was a little concerned that it was going to go in some kind of like weird supernatural direction. And I was like, don't do that, because I feel like the whole strength of this movie is this intellectual conversation that we're having about religion and how people are impacted or swayed to believe certain things and to not believe certain things. And I was like, don't go there, because I think that's going to ruin the whole premise of the movie. Thank goodness they did not go there, okay? He does this whole little ruse. It kind of fools them for a second, but then it's revealed that this was all just a ruse. It was kind of a shell game. It was sleight of hand, essentially. Again, Sophie Thatcher's character, Sister Barnes, dies. Sister Paxton lives. She's going on. And then toward the end of the movie is where Hugh Grant's character reveals what the true religion he has found is, what that is. And I thought this was a really good reveal. I think this is the general point that the movie is grappling with. I think this is the idea that the movie wants you to think about, wants you to chew on, and this has been the whole idea that Hugh Grant and these LDS sisters have been kind of debating and grappling with. And he reveals that true religion is control, right? Religions are nothing, in his view, are nothing but the control of the masses, essentially, through various means, whether that be through financial means, through material means, through psychological or quote-unquote spiritual needs being met. And he reveals that essentially the sisters have gotten to the point where they are in this particular movie because they have been controlled by him to be there. And it was actually all their choices that led them to where they are, that led them to Sister Barnes's death and led Sister Paxton into her now kind of terrifying situation. And this is his point. He's trying to say, look, I got you here via control. You made all the choices that were necessary to be here because I manipulated you to do so, right? That's his point. And he's like, that's what religion is. At the end of the movie, she ends up stabbing Hugh Grant's character and she escapes. Now, the one thing that I would say maybe starts to skew the movie again into the direction of maybe being a little harsh on religion is it seems like she does kind of have a moment where she's like, yeah, I don't necessarily believe that prayer is helpful, or I don't know what I believe anymore, but I'm going to pray anyway because I think that's beautiful. And it kind of leaves you thinking, okay, he probably kind of showed her that belief is kind of bogus and misguided, but she triumphed over him because she has a more positive and a more hopeful view of the world, despite these revelations. So, in the end, is the movie anti-religious? I don't think so. Again, it had good balance there. This movie may bother people who are religious. It didn't bother me. And like I said, I've studied, Christian theology and apologetics, and I'm well versed in that world. I thought it was a good grappling with that topic because at the end of the day, we all have to grapple with that topic of what do we believe? Why do we believe it? How did we get here? And I thought it was just a really interesting movie. It was a really well done movie to grapple with that idea. And it was very well acted. Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East did a very good job. Hugh Grant was really good at playing this charming but terrifying person. And like I said, it was just a great vibe, So yeah, overall, definitely a movie I would recommend. I would give it a 22 out of 24. Like I said, the only thing that threw me off a little bit about the movie was just the very beginning. It just seemed like you could have established your characters in a better way that would make me believe a little more that they're actually LDS missionaries. But other than that, I really don't have many complaints. I thought it was very good, a very solid movie, very entertaining. It was just a good time. So I highly recommend you see it in theaters if you can, and have a good one.